Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kristen Sharp, and I'm the President and CEO of the Oro Valley Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of our board, staff, and all of our members, welcome to the 2024 Economic Outlook and Spring Business Expo. We very much appreciate you being here on this beautiful day and spending it indoors with us. And I hope you were able to visit all of the wonderful exhibitors that we had over in our Business Expo. Let's give them all a round of applause, shall we? Let's please honor our country by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. If you are able, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And before you're seated, I'd like to ask current and retired military and first responders to remain standing so we may show our appreciation. Thank you for your service. I would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors and individuals who have made this event possible for us today. Our expo sponsor, Cox Communications. Our host, yes, please, let's give them a round of applause. Our wonderful host, El Conquistador Tucson, a Hilton resort. Our champion sponsors, Acacia IT, Desert Hospitality Management, Golder Ranch Fire District, HSL Properties, Hughes Federal Credit Union, Pima County One Stop, Pima Federal Credit Union, Southwest Heritage Bank, the Town of Oro Valley, the University of Arizona Government and Community Relations, Tech Parks, Arizona, and College of Veterinary Medicine, and Tucson Media Partners. Thank you, champion sponsors. Our premier sponsors, Arizona State University, Bayer, Chase Building Team, Comcast, Fishkind Bakewell Maltzman Hunter and Associates, Kinghorn Law Financial, Northwest Healthcare, 1AZ Credit Union, Oro Valley Marketplace, a Town West property, Pima Community College, Swan Pilates, Tucson Electric Power, Tucson Federal Credit Union, Tucson Local Media, Valley Gold Long Realty, Visiting Angels, WaFed Bank, and Windy Wise State Farm. Thank you, premier sponsors. We are also grateful to Joey Ambrose with Boompix Media. We're thankful to our videographers. We have Anstar Productions Group here, as well as Regal Fierce Media. Arizona Litho printed our programs and these beautiful backdrop banners, who Chris Gray of Christopher Gray Fine Art took the beautiful picture for. We are also thankful to Southwest Solutions for printing our expo bags and to AV Media for making sure you all can hear us loud and clear. I'd once again like to extend a special thank you to the folks here at El Conquistador Tucson Hilton Resort, led by Chamber Board Member and General Manager Shelby Frankum, and a very big thank you to Amanda and Greta and their catering team, who have ensured every detail of this event is perfect. So let's give them a round of applause. We are also thankful to our wonderful ambassadors and volunteers who help make our events successful and take care of our guests. Speaking of guests, we have some special guests I'd like to acknowledge today. Please hold your applause until the end, and forgive me if I do miss anyone. From Senator Kirsten Sinema's office, Troy Kemble. From Senator Mark Kelly's office, Carla Avalos. From Congressman Juan Ciscomani's office, CJ Karamarjan and Kyle Koch. From Governor Katie Hobbs' office, Selena Valenzuela and Eddie Muthambu. From Pima County, we have from the Economic Development the Office of Economic Development, the director, and one of our esteemed panelists, Heath Vescovi-Chiordi, and Assistant Director Kelly Maslin. And also from Pima County, we have Rhonda Pina, who's the Deputy Director of Workforce Development. From the town of Oro Valley, we have Mayor Joe Winfield, Vice Mayor Melanie Barrett, and Council Member Dr. Harry Moe Green, along with Town Manager Jeff Wilkins. From Golder Ranch Fire District, we have a contingent led by Chief Tom Brandhuber and Board Chair Vicki Cox Golder and board members Sandy Outlaw and Steve Brady. From the University of Arizona, we have a contingent led by Assistant Vice President of Community Relations, Julie Katzel, and Eric Smith, the Executive Director of the UA Center for Innovation. Representing Pima Community College, a contingent led by the Chief Cultural Impact Officer and Vice President of the Northwest Campus, Brian Stewart, and another one of our esteemed panelists, Dr. Ian Rourke, who's the Vice Chancellor of Workforce Development and Innovation. From Pima JTED, we have the Director of Public Relations, Greg Diana. And we're also pleased to have Chamber friends Rob Elias and Gus Zapata of the Tucson Hispanic Chamber of Commerce with us here today. Let's give all of those wonderful people a round of applause. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize our board members who are with us today, those wonderful volunteers who give their time and expertise to help make this chamber what it is. We have our past chair, Eric Renaud of Pima Federal Credit Union, our secretary clerk, you can applaud, our secretary clerk, Denny Cousins of North Star Strategies, our treasurer, Susan Swan of Swan Pilates, Lisa Bayless of Lisa Bayless Long Realty, Zoe Burcham of Kinghorn Law Financial, Michael Burns of iloveov.com, Lydia Camarillo of Golder Ranch Fire District, Shelby Frankum of El Conquistador Tucson, a Hilton Resort, and Dalton Homer of Northwest Healthcare. And we also have our ex officio member, Paul Melcher, who is the Community and Economic Development Director with the town of Oro Valley, and also one of our panelists today. Let's give them a round of applause. And last but certainly not least, I am truly fortunate to work with some amazing human beings. They are talented and dedicated, and they work very hard every day because they truly care about each and every one of our members and making sure they're successful. Newest to the team, but already making valuable contributions, as our business development director, we have Leah Bayhan. Raise your hand, Leah, so people can meet you. If they want to join, she's right over there. Talk to her. Not to be confused with our original Leah, Leah Noring, who is our operations director, and she keeps everyone, especially me, on task and running smoothly. I would be absolutely lost without our membership services director, Joni Bates, who makes sure our members get what they need and our systems are functional and accurate. And our events and communications director, McKenna Markley, who now has a full year of our major events under her belt and has executed them all with extreme attention to detail and a little pizzazz. And her service even goes so far to include, the mayor gave her a pen today, and I was jealous, so I made her let me borrow it for this afternoon. So let's give your chamber staff a warm round of applause. On Monday, April 15th, the town of Oro Valley will experience a wonderful milestone. They will be turning 50 years old. Let's give the town a great big round of applause. To celebrate, this past weekend they held a parade along Naranja, which was wonderful. My daughter and I got to walk in it. It was fantastic. And this weekend they are holding a festival and a celebration at James D. Gray Park. It will begin at noon. It's free to the public. There will be fireworks at 9:30 p.m. There will be food trucks and drinks for purchase. So please go attend and celebrate Oro Valley. To help the town celebrate their 50th anniversary, your chamber has put together a program, a Shop Local program called 50 Businesses for 50 Years, where we are highlighting 50 businesses throughout this entire year and encouraging people to visit them and shop local. So currently, we are highlighting 2 businesses. We are highlighting Noble Hops, where you can go, and if you enter to win, you could win a free dinner or lunch for 2, as well as Brooklyn Bedding. And if you go there, visit their store, put your information in, you will be entered to win one of 2 mattresses from Brooklyn Bedding. I don't know about you, but I think most people probably don't follow the rule of 8, right? Replace your mattress when it's 8 years old. So go visit Brooklyn Bedding, see what they've got, and maybe you might win a free one. To go along with those door prizes, your chamber is also giving away a prize for each one of the businesses. That includes a really cool blue chamber Stanley style mug that everybody is envious of and wants. And inside that mug is a one-night stay for 2 and breakfast for 2 at El Conquistador Tucson, a Hilton resort, as well as a family pass to Tohono Chul and a gift card to Noble Hops. So go to those businesses, enter to win, and you can win one of those things. Today, we also are giving away a one-night stay to El Conquistador Tucson. So if you registered by 10:30 today and made it into the Business Expo, you were entered to win. And we drew those winners, and we have 2 winners. I'll announce the winner of the breakfast. So El Conquistador was generous enough to give us a breakfast for 2, and that goes to Donna Ruthruff from Pima County One Stop. Our operations director is making sure we're functioning as usual, so she's heading over. Make sure you find Leah. And the winner of the one-night stay here at El Conquistador Tucson is Rustin Schur of Tucson Electric Power. Rustin. I'll go ahead and invite our panelists up to speak, and while they are making their way to the stage, I have a couple of fun facts to share with you. So in light of the town's 50th birthday, I pulled a couple of facts. In 1974, which was 50 years ago, Richard Nixon was president. In April, I think he was only going to be president for about 4 more months because we all know what happened in August of that year. People magazine just started publishing. The Rubik's Cube was invented. A nationwide speed limit, highway speed limit of 55 miles per hour was implemented in an effort to conserve gas, which was then 53 cents a gallon. That was quite a bit less than a gallon of milk in 1974, which was $1.24. The median household income was $11,100. Which was up about 6% from 1973, but inflation at that time was 11%, so buying power was still down a little bit. The average home price, $38,000, and rent was $150 a month. Today, 50 years later, here we are. Milk is $3.50. And it's less than gas at about $4 per gallon if you go to the pump today. The median household income of the United States is $77,283, and in Oro Valley, it's $92,548. The average home in the United States today costs $412,000. In Arizona, it's at about $426,680. And this past March in Oro Valley, the median home price was up 3% from last year at $535,000. So a lot obviously has changed in the past 50 years. So let's chat with our panelists and see where Southern Arizona is today and what we can kind of look forward to. So here we are. You guys are probably tired of hearing me talking, and you're not here to hear me talk. You are here to hear our wonderful panelists talk. So I will let them introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, thank you, Kristen. My name is Paul Melcher. I'm the Community and Economic Development Director for the town. I have been serving the town a little bit over 3 years now. And as we were all sitting down doing the mic up, we were reminiscing 24 years ago, I was in the process of providing my first economic development plan and general plan to the city of San Luis, Arizona. Thinking back, that was sponsored by APS. It was a whole statewide project to get all the communities, at least under the APS service area, a general plan and an economic development plan. So I was just thinking, it kind of felt old there too. But that gives you a little bit of sense of celebrating 24 years of public service, and it's been a pleasure to work for Oro Valley.
Thank you, Paul. Heath?
Thanks. Hi, everybody. My name is Heath Vescovi-Chiordi. I'm the Director of Pima County Economic Development. I've been in this position for just under 2.5 years now. Prior to that, worked for the town of Marana for about 9 years, doing a lot of different things. When Paul was doing that strategic plan, I was 12 years old. But not to be outdone, McKenna wasn't born yet. So if Paul's old, I'm old too. McKenna's quite young. So really excited to be here, and thank you, Kristen, for the invitation.
Thanks, Heath. Ian?
Kristen, thanks again. It's an honor to be invited to be on this panel and to be on a panel with 3 individuals that I've worked with and know very well. I was actually I was speaking in a class that Heath teaches at the University of Arizona last night. And my son hangs out at Stack's Book Club that Crispin owns, and of course Crispin used to serve on our team. I serve as the Vice Chancellor of Workforce Development and Innovation for Pima Community College. I've been at Pima now 9 years. It's hard to believe that I've been there that long, and just as a point of privilege, another shout out to the Pima Community College table led by our Interim Chancellor, Dr. Dolores Duran-Cerda, and Dr. Brian Stewart. Last night, I got to explain to Heath's students that are pursuing masters in public policy, public administration, what I do in my role, and he had a slide up there about all of the factors for economic development, and there was one point on that slide that said labor shortage. So my job is to help align the college district to meet the needs of business and industry here and now from a workforce development context, but also help inform the strategy that our chancellor and board will be voting on and implementing that sets us up for success to serve you 10 years out, 20 years out, and 30 years out. So it's really to help close that skills gap in our community.
Excellent. Thank you, Ian. Crispin?
Thank you, Kristen. My name is Crispin Jeffrey Franco, along with my wife, Lizzie. I'm the owner of Stack's Book Club, independent bookstore and coffee bar here in Oro Valley. A year ago, I think about this time, I was running the Pima table under the leadership of Ian here at this event. So I've officially been self-employed for a year now, which is kind of amazing to think about. Prior to that, I spent the last couple years as the Director of Business Development and Engagement at Pima Community College and the Workforce Development team. So a little bit of a perspective on the employer side of things, and now I get to serve this panel as an employer. I didn't think I'd be on the stage talking about a topic like this ever again, let alone so soon after having left. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, we're glad to have you. For the audience, as we have our discussion today, there are pads of paper and pens on your tables. So if you have a question, it pops into your head, write it down. We will take questions at the end. We have chamber staff who will come around, just hold your question up, wave it around, and they can come around and pick it up from you, and we'll bring it up to me. All right, so let's get started. Let's start off with major projects. What's going on in Pima County? What's the development? And then we would like to talk about what's going on in Oro Valley as well, but Heath, we'll go ahead and start off with you.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know we were starting with me. That's so great.
Yay, congrats.
So I think there are a few highlights, right, to take from our department specifically and just countywide in general. First and foremost, right, you've probably heard 1,000 times, if you're talking to me at least, of American Battery Factory, which is a really amazing project that we worked on. It only took us 9 months to get this entire development agreement together and effectively bringing a battery manufacturer into the Pima County, Tucson area. Over 10 years, we're talking a $3 billion economic impact. There will be 1,000 jobs. They're going to occupy 197 acres out at our aerospace research campus. And it's just a wonderful project because it's what the Arizona Commerce Authority deems a mega project. And from that, you get a lot of different opportunities that come on the heels of it, right? So different suppliers, different industries now looking at the city of Tucson, Pima County, Oro Valley, Marana, Sahuarita, unincorporated jurisdictions in a very, very serious way. So we're really excited about that. We're in the throes of the development process with them, figuring out what their permitting looks like, all those types of things, and reconciling, right, with all of the other collaborators that we work with on the real property, the electrical service, the workforce development component that Ian and PCC are going to be taking a really hard look at and designing curriculum for them, hopefully. So a lot of moving parts with that. And that was December of 2022 when we actually had that agreement approved by our Board of Supervisors. So we're extremely thankful to the political leadership for allowing us to do our job and to do it well. Also the county administrator, right, for just having excellent vision and executing that on behalf of the board and economic development as well. A couple of other things I think we've all heard about Uptown, right? That's a wonderful redevelopment opportunity that's happening right now. I think we're talking 500,000 square feet of all of these different types of amenities, 500 hotel rooms, I think 1,000 residential units at some point in time. And that's a wonderful opportunity for the region as well because it really kind of unifies an area for commercial, retail, and hospitality all in one specific spot. And it's a long time coming, right, for an area that I think was really looking forward to redevelopment. And then lastly, I'll mention something that our Board of Supervisors recently passed was the Mosaic Quarter. So this is a huge deal, long time in the making, even before I was a glint in Pima County's eye. And that was something that was headed up by Nancy Cole and Carmine DeBonis of Pima County. And this is at our Keno South area that we call it Keno South affectionately. And you're looking at 1 million square feet of all of these different pieces of development. So different fields, an iceplex, commercial, retail, you're talking hospitality, a lot of all these different things coming together. And it's supposed to generate a $12 billion impact over the long run. And is going to be an amazing opportunity not only for the commercial and retail development sector within Pima County and the city of Tucson, but you look at it from the economic impact and all the partnerships that go into this, it's actually going to be an amazing opportunity for everybody to get involved and take advantage of it in some form or fashion. So 3 off the top of my head that I think are major. We also did a really cool smaller one with the Ehrman brothers. You might know Portal and Hermanos on 4th Avenue. They're doing a small kind of development up off of Paradise Falls Drive, and that's just kind of a small, really cool concept that's going to fit the vibe of that area. But anything that the Ehrman brothers touch turns into something really, really cool, so we're excited about that smaller project as well.
Very cool. Thanks, Heath. Paul, what's going on in Oro Valley?
Well, I think we'll stick with the theme of 3. So the biggest one, building on Uptown, would be our anticipation of the reimagining of the marketplace. So the improvement plans are in for review. We've been working on that. Very excited for the first hotel, Hampton Inn and Suites. The second one I would say is La Posada. If you're looking at for senior living, another huge major development. But finally, you couldn't talk about Oro Valley without mentioning Roche. Along with all of the improvements that they've done to the main campus, their recent purchase of the Icogen building certainly provides them that foundation for future development and expansion for those lab spaces. So we're very excited about all of those.
That seems like a lot of development, a lot of cool things that are happening in Oro Valley and in Pima County in general. So Ian, let's move on to you. You just mentioned a labor shortage. We have all of these cool things coming in. Are we going to have enough people to make them operational? What's Pima Community College's role in that?
So the answer is we have enough people in our community to numerically fill every job that's being created and more. The disadvantage that we have is a real skills gap. So in Arizona, we don't have these data right now from the National Skills Coalition for Pima County specifically, but it's a good proxy. In Arizona, 32% of all of the jobs require a bachelor's degree or higher. And we have that exact same number of people in Arizona that have a bachelor's degree or higher. However, on the skills side, for low-skill jobs that require only a high school diploma or less, a full 25% of Arizonans have that, but there's only 17% of the jobs that require only a high school diploma or less. And it's the exact opposite. We have a 6-point deficit, if you will, 6 or 7, depends on the year, with respect to what's called middle skill or high skill jobs. Those are all of the jobs that require something more than a high school diploma, whether it's an apprenticeship, an industry recognized certification, or a certificate in a degree or a 2-year degree specifically. And those are the things that we specialize in at Pima Community College. A full 51% of the jobs in Arizona require that level of education, but only 46% of the workforce in Arizona has those credentials. So we have to work really hard at getting the undereducated and disadvantaged in our community the opportunities they need to get into these jobs that are being created by the employers. So again, the people are there, they just don't have the skills, and oftentimes it's they haven't been given the opportunity, or we haven't removed enough barriers for them to access this needed education and training. And just to stick with the three, for example, three out of those that were mentioned, we worked heavily with Pima County on the attraction of American Battery Factory to Southern Arizona. With respect to that strategy and foresight, just this year, this fall, we opened our advanced manufacturing building at our Center of Excellence in Applied Technology at our downtown campus. That building is over 100,000 square feet of very advanced technological training space with in mind the projection that employers like American Battery Factory, once they saw those assets and they saw the skill and delivery of our faculty, that they would then choose Southern Arizona because they had a community college that was ready, willing, and able to work to fill those needs. And so just this week, we actually had the CEO of American Battery Factory in town and touring that building and talking about the very things that we are going to do to move people into these high-paying jobs through apprenticeship, through customized training, and through onboarding and partnership with our friends and partners, Pima County One Stop. So there's a lot of joint work there. With La Posada, look forward to the conversations because there's going to be a need for home health workers. There's going to be a need for certified nurse aides and licensed nurse professionals. So that aligns to our downtown campus, our West Campus expansion of our Health Professions Center of Excellence, where we will be now doubling the output of nurses in just a few years whenever that facility is complete that we currently do. And so just as one data point, right now we graduate 400 registered nurses on an annual basis at the college. That will double to 800 once this project is done. With respect to Roche, it's an example of how, especially in the past, work-based learning can come into a way to meet employers' needs if you don't have the exact certificate or degree that they're looking for. And we've had a very successful partnership in the past with respect to internships, especially for science students, who could then see how the degree that they're pursuing eventually at the University of Arizona through Pima Community College aligns to the very work that's being done at Roche and others. And so those are just some of the ways that we bring the strategy as well as the operations to the table to close those skill gaps.
That's fantastic. You touched on 2 centers of excellence. So tell us a little bit more about PCC's model in their centers of excellence, and talk a little bit about that. Tell the audience about that.
Yeah, so all of our campuses now have at least one designated center of excellence that is aligned to key economic development drivers as a part of our educational and facilities master plan that commenced around 2015, 2016. And that was the sort of strategic plan where we contracted with outside economists. I can talk economics, but I'm an armchair economist. I'm not a real economist, so we have to bring in the professionals to say this is where the job growth is going, all things being equal. However, we also had to bring in thought leadership, for example, from Pima County's Economic Development Office at the time, from the town, from others, in order to make sure that we knew what the leadership of our community was thinking about in terms of bringing new and different industries to the table. And so out of that work came the idea for a center of excellence. And so we have 7 identified centers of excellence. The 2 that I've already mentioned at the downtown campus in applied technology, which includes manufacturing. An offshoot of that is at the airport with aviation technology and the expansion in that industry, as well as building construction technology and other forms of applied technology. At the West Campus with health profession, it's all of our nursing and allied health professionals. And thanks to our partnership with NAU at that campus, you can actually go all the way up to getting a doctor of nurse practitioner, all the way from a certified nurse aide at our West Campus. At our Desert Vista campus, that has been designated for culinary arts and hospitality. So at a place like this, the workforce that's needed to staff and keep things going and provide the excellent food and service that we've all received today, Desert Vista is the center point for that. The Northwest Campus, closest to here, has been designated for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics with things like the biotech sector here at Oro Valley and Mine for that designation. At our East Campus, it is IT and cybersecurity, and that center is already complete, and it's been designated as a location for our public safety and security some years out, which is all of our public service professionals with law enforcement and firefighters. And thank you to those of you today that are here as first responders, because that Center of Excellence is going to be dedicated to that training and partnership with you.
That's great. Thank you. Crispin, let's pivot a little bit. Paul talked about the marketplace. You're in it. You're in the marketplace. What do you need from the marketplace currently for your business? How's business going? Talk a little bit about Stacks.
Yeah, we've been open for 9 months now. We're getting ready, planning our 1-year celebration later this summer, so we're excited about that. Overall, the first 9 months have been amazing. The welcome from the community. I've seen a lot of regular customers in the room today. And when I think about the new projects coming to Oro Valley and thinking about what people who are thinking about moving to Oro Valley are looking for, it's third spaces, right? It's this idea of you have your home, you have your work life, but then where else do you get to go in your community to find connection, to find comfort, to find whatever it is that you're looking for in that third space experience. And I feel like that's what we've been able to do really well right off the bat is really create a point in a place in the marketplace where all of Oro Valley, we see folks coming from Sahuarita, we see people coming from the east side, we have folks driving down from Phoenix to come and be a part of what we're doing at Stacks. And so, we're thinking about more people in the town, more jobs in the town. Like, how do we make our space more ready for all of those people to also be able to participate in that space? We knew we wanted to be in Oro Valley. We chose the marketplace because I was lucky enough to be in a position where I could have conversations with folks that were kind of in the know about what Town West was planning prior to us making that decision. And so we made a little bit of a bet that the Town West project would move forward. When we decided to sign the lease, we heard a lot of people raise their eyebrow, A, at the idea of opening a bookstore, B, about opening a bookstore in Oro Valley, and specifically about opening a bookstore in Oro Valley Marketplace, where I think a couple years ago the idea of a retail center that large, that was largely empty, being kind of a wild idea. We saw some other businesses already going in that we felt were signaling a little bit of a change in what people were looking for in this area, and we felt like it was a good opportunity for us to step in, fill an immediate need, and then hopefully be in position to grow as the market grows, as the marketplace grows, and as the hotel projects come on board, and as hopefully down the line the apartment buildings get built, that we're in a position to scale our operation to keep welcoming more and more people into the area and hopefully be an added attraction to living in Oro Valley.
As a small business owner, when you were developing Stacks and getting it started, what was your biggest challenge?
Finding the courage, quite honestly. We talked to a number of business owners in Oro Valley just to kind of get a sense of, we had met with Dave Perry, met with members of the chamber. When we were starting, he was the president at the time, and we felt the welcomeness of Oro Valley. We had the opportunity to meet Mayor Winfield multiple times at the farmers markets as we were sort of like testing out the concept of a bookstore. And so we started to feel welcomed from the town leadership, which we really wanted to be part of our story. We never wanted to convince somebody that we would be valuable to the community. We wanted a community that would welcome us wholeheartedly, because as a bookstore, it can be a dicey business model to try to operate. We happen to serve amazing coffee, amazing food, beer and wine. You should come by. But we knew that we wanted to be in Oro Valley. One of the biggest challenges was the amount of available space from a retail perspective, and what was available within the town limits that could meet our needs both now and in the future as we look to grow. And that was really one of the hard parts, was trying to find a location that we felt we could actually move into and build the space. And luckily we were able to work with folks at Town West, get a deal in place that we felt comfortable with, and again, like that long-term vision. But yeah, that was one of the challenges. There just wasn't a whole bunch of empty retail space. There was nothing ready for a coffee bar to be able to go in. And so, we worked with the town and then the building and permits department to be able to put that plan together in a way that made sense for us fiscally and met the town's needs from a permits regulation process. And that was all phenomenal. We've had zero friction working with the town of Oro Valley in any capacity throughout this project.
That's wonderful to hear. So what about now? You're in it. It's been a year. What's your biggest challenge, and what keeps you up at night today?
It's a good problem. We are at various times of the day bursting at the seams, which is a great problem to have, right? It's like we want as many people as we can serve coming into the space and finding a comfortable place to sit down. We're limited by the amount of square footage that we have and the space that we have to be able to do that as much as we can. We hosted an author a couple weekends ago. We had 108 people in the building, which is like the absolute most people we could possibly have in the building, but they want to send the author back and they want us to have 500 people show up. And we can't do that in our space now. So now we're looking in the community and where can we partner, where can we find a venue to be able to do that. And so that's what Lizzie and I are starting to look at is as our business starts to grow, we want to grow with Oro Valley, but we also have to be mindful that, we have great neighbors that have been in their businesses for a long time too. And how do we grow in a way that we're not disrupting what anybody else is doing and we're not, causing issues because we're, not being responsible about that growth.
So how do you feel about the apartments and the hotels coming in?
We're stoked. We're super excited, and it from a small business owner perspective, it gives us a roadmap to now project against, right? Like we know once shovels go on the ground for the Hampton Inn, we have a certain amount of time to figure out how do we get capacity to serve all of those guests visiting Oro Valley that are staying there. How do we continue to have, space available to be able to serve the new folks, going to work at Roche and all of the people coming to the area. So it kind of gives us like a marker of time where we have now, a target to kind of grow against.
Wonderful. I'm excited for your growth. I'm in there once a week at least getting coffee. It's delicious. You should try it. So just moving right along, we've talked about a lot of development, people growing, expanding. We've talked a lot about needing the workforce and the labor to fill. But where is that workforce going to live? So let's move a little bit to the conversation of affordable/attainable housing. I'll share a brief story. Several years ago, we had the then CEO of the Tucson Association of Realtors, Randy Rogers, speak with us, and he said, we don't talk about affordable housing, we talk about attainable housing, and is housing available for people to live in? So Heath, let's start with you with all of these different projects, with the battery factory coming in. Do we have housing in Southern Arizona for people to live in?
Yeah, so we do. I think when we're talking about these companies coming here, right, and we're actively recruiting them, we do this with as many things in mind as possible, right? And so one of those things is, where are these individuals going to live? And I think we're fortunate, and there's struggles simultaneously, right? Housing, there is a crunch. We all feel that, understand that, know that, see that every single day. But we look at places like Marana, and we look at the connection, right, between Marana up into the Phoenix area, into Casa Grande, and how that area is growing, and how there are so many platted lots, and there's so much opportunity for living there. And so we sit back and we take a look at what those long-range plans are, right, in the surrounding cities and towns, and we say, okay, can we comfortably facilitate X amount of people coming in just based off of what we're seeking to attract? That's not even accounting for natural immigration, all of these different things, right? So short answer is yes, we certainly do have the space to live and for people to come here, but we also have to get creative, right? Because we're not just talking about more people coming in and living here. What about creating opportunity for those that are here right now to acquire a home, and therefore kind of acquire generational wealth opportunity too? And so I think the Board of Supervisors has really been insightful and is kind of looking down and around the corner, if you will, in some of the investments that they've made through the general fund. So through community and workforce development, specifically Rhonda Pena, Jen Darling, and Dan Sullivan, they've done a really great job of allocating money specifically for affordable/attainable housing. So that goes out through an RFP process, individuals submit for those, and then there's awards that are made for either refurbishing existing opportunities, creating new opportunities for housing, et cetera, and there are requirements there for those individuals that are eligible to obtain those homes or those refurbished homes, right, once they're completed. So that's been wildly successful so far. We've seen a huge appetite for it in the community, from the development community, as well as from the individuals seeking out housing. So we're going to continue that. That is a specific focus of the Board of Supervisors right now. Hats off to the City of Tucson as well, doing very similar projects, looking at multifamily housing that they've done, converting hotels, motels, and things of that nature into housing opportunities too. Through our department, we're very fortunate to work through the Pima County Industrial Development Authority and in partnership with the Tucson Industrial Development Authority. And so we've done something called the Lighthouse Program. And effectively what that is attainable housing, where you actually are creating a program that's based off of bond market rates. And essentially what the program does is locks in a certain amount of money, a cap, if you will, of 25 or 50 or whatever that looks like, $1 million. And that money can be used to help people buy homes. So those individuals have certain requirements put on them so that they can purchase the homes through those programs, but it basically locks in a competitive interest rate based off of what the interest rate market looks like allows for 4% down payment assistance as well, and works directly with lenders and with real estate agents to place those people into those homes. So we've done 3 iterations of Lighthouse so far. 3 of them have been in conjunction with the Tucson IDA. We're about to launch a 4th one, hopefully in the next week or so, as soon as the bond markets lock in a rate for us. And that'll be Lighthouse 4.0. And to date, I think even with just Lighthouse 3.0, we did 194 deals. So that's 194 people at minimum that are in homes and now own those homes. And so there's a real opportunity for them to generate their wealth from a long-term perspective for their family. We also look at housing as an economic development thing, right? That's why this is coming out of our office in conjunction with our partners, is because stable housing means stable workforce, and stable workforce means stable economy. And so it's one very small piece of the pie, right, that we're working on, and we're fortunate to be able to do that. But we have to continue to be creative. We have to continue to leverage our partners and understand what the need is out there and how we can facilitate these things. Again, a small piece, right, in this giant puzzle that is the entirety of the county. But you'll see regional municipalities in the city getting very creative too and figuring out how we can continue to do these types of things. So land is limited, growth is somewhat limited in certain areas. And so again, I would just kind of err on the side of saying, if that's the prerogative of your community, find a way to do it and make it a reality. And it really just yields positive results for everybody across the board.
Paul, do you want to touch on, we have apartments coming in the marketplace, and we're very excited about those. How many of those do we have coming? And do you think that will help with the Roche expansion and getting people from Roche able to live where they work?
Certainly. When you're looking at the synergy created at the marketplace, it is that foundation of the apartments. Approximately 520 to 530 new apartment units there. You have the Vistoso Highlands that was just approved, so you're looking about 600 so new apartments going in. That'd be a really solid support and foundation for those expansions. We know that looking at that demographic, a lot of the new tech younger workers, they want that apartment experience first as they look to seek out a long-term housing solution or that long-term purchase. So I think that's a good segue into get them started there, but it helps also create that economic development synergy that we're talking about. You start looking at the adaptive reuse of those buildings. In the town of Oro Valley since July of 2020, we've had 106 new businesses start in the town, but we've also seen some larger ones, the Best Buy, some of those other ones out of the marketplace transitioning, but now you're starting to see the 2nd and 3rd generation businesses going in there. Even we know that Aldi's still working through their purchase process, but if you're looking at Aldi, you're looking at what we were able to do with the Van Gogh exhibit, the Dollar Tree. You see that transition starting to begin where retail has been forecast to be up. So you've got the housing to support it, the existing businesses. Now you've got the housing to support those expansions and create all of that economic development potential right in that area.
Love it. You briefly mentioned Aldi, and I just would like you to give a very brief overview. What is Aldi? What's happening? I don't know that everybody has heard that wonderful news.
So when we talk about 2nd and 3rd generation stores going in, it's that iteration. If everybody will remember, right now it's been the Halloween store for I don't know how many years. Before then it was Sports Authority, and before that it was another, I think it was an Albertsons. So this might be the 4th generation, quote, store going in that, or looking to go in that location. Aldi's is a discount type store, but it's very difficult to say that it's high-end discount. But they really focus on organic, specialized foods, and it's kind of that niche that you might think is comparable to a Trader Joe's style of, this is what we do it very well, trying not to be anything except that good niche in that fit. So we're very optimistic in looking at those additional expansion opportunities in those vacant buildings.
In the Midwest, I grew up going to Aldi's, so I'm very excited to see Aldi's come to our community. So now would be a good time. If you have questions, go ahead and write them down. I see one already. Throw your hand in the air. Our staff will come around and pick them up. We're going to wrap up with our questions up here, and then I'll ask your questions if you have them. So we've talked a lot about developments and labor and housing, and all of these things sound like it's really good. Good things are happening in southern Arizona. The GDP is relatively good. Inflation has seemed to even out. So we are hearing these good things about the economy, but then yet we're also hearing, oh, well, in 2024, the economy is softening out. We're looking for a soft landing. And Crispin, as a small business owner, I feel like small businesses feel shifts in the economy quicker than large businesses or institutions. So I'd like to just throw this topic up to all four of you to chat about why are we seeing such a differing, yes, everything is great, but oh no, we might still go into a recession. So let's talk about that for a minute. Who wants to go first?
You want to talk about monetary policy?
Yeah, so we were joking about that at lunch, thinking you could really get in the weeds, but I think there's an ultimate reflection of, you talk about the foundational inflationary factors of fuel or energy and then labor. As Ian had talked about, a labor shortage, that also increases the value of labor, even at some of the lower skill portions of that. So that's what you have to be cognizant of, is reskilling, getting that upskilled labor. I think those are the opportunities, and then figuring out again, what are those other inflationary factors? Fuel is universal because it impacts transportation, but it also the cost of goods sold. So as you're looking to create all of these elements, everything's based on transportation to get those there. So I think once you see a little bit more leveling out of fuel, energy costs, and then going back to the labor costs, I think that's really going to be the indicator of then going to, will interest rates drop to make the availability of cash and borrowing that much cheaper again?
I think, just from seeing things and hearing things, especially over the last 2 years, right? I was watching a few videos yesterday about monetary policy, ironically, and just, I know that sounds super cool to do. But hearing about all the things that are happening and just like the modest increase in inflation, right, in the last quarter, and hearing about the indicators and stuff like that, you're seeing just slight increases in general, nothing that's extremely worrisome, but it's all based off of a strong dollar, right? And so for quite some time, ever since I entered this position, there's always been a healthy fear or skepticism saying, I think we might go into a recession. It's been 2.5 years and that has not happened. And so you talk about a soft landing. This might be that point where there's an evening out and a soft landing, right? So they talked about having up to potentially three cuts in 2024 on rates. And now with all the recent information that's come out, they're saying maybe there's only one cut, maybe it's in June, and then maybe that's kind of where things even out. So overarchingly, I don't feel terribly worried about it. I am in an armchair. I am not an economist. I am an armchair economist like Ian is. And so we're tracking these things and keeping our ears, really low to the ground and trying to figure it out. But we listen to our businesses. We listen to what they're talking about, small, medium, and large, and incoming ones too. And as long as we see the level of activity that we are right now, and we're seeing that from all different levels, right? A lot of stuff coming from the federal government, a lot of stuff being generated by the state. I feel comfortable, but as Paul mentioned earlier, right? What happens when a lot of the spending at the federal level stops? There's a cliff there as well that we need to be cognizant of, and that has an effect on everything too. So you do need a soft landing, especially when it comes to all these programs like CHIPS and IRA and IIJA, et cetera, all the acronyms. So that's kind of our take on it right now.
I really don't have anything to add from the economic development perspective or the economics of it, pardon me, but I would like to kind of thread the needle through some themes that really demonstrate what Pima Community College's role is, whether it's an inflationary cycle or whether it's a recession or whether we do have a soft landing and things sort of level out and get back to quote normal, if we can all remember what normal was with respect to business cycles. And that is, you said that small businesses are oftentimes the bellwether, but they're also the backbone, right, of our economy. And we talk a lot about the importance of these large projects. We led with that, but it's really the downstream impact of bringing all of those jobs for those large employers to the region and to Oro Valley specifically that really allows for entrepreneurs who do have that idea and who do get that courage, like Crispin, to then come forward and start that small business. And so the question for Pima really is, what are we doing to help that? How are we helping small businesses get started? And what are we doing to help those businesses stay resilient should there be a downturn in the economy? And Crispin himself and his business, and Lizzie, they're really an example of it. Crispin was on the team that helped work with Pima County to attract American Battery Factory to the region. But Crispin was also a client of our Small Business Development Center housed at Pima Community College that worked with him and Lizzie to help get their business started. And so we have our Small Business Development Center director here, Sue Oliver. So we're over there.
Wave, Sue.
And we are a proud partner with the University of Arizona, with Startup Tucson and others as a part of the Tucson Innovation Partnership to really be a part of the ecosystem to provide the education and training to small business owners that they need to stay above the fray in these very sometimes volatile cycles or in uncertain times. At the same time, we've also been very good as a college over the past 10 years of meeting the needs where employers need it with training people to work for other people. But from our social justice mission, what if we have students who are automotive students or manufacturing students or nurses who someday want to open their own business? And how are we really helping them see themselves as a part of the American dream to be the next Crispin that really follows that dream? And so as a part of our advanced manufacturing building, we are opening up an advanced manufacturing business incubator where our manufacturing students can have adjacency to entrepreneurs and see that cycle start to finish. And they themselves have the facility and the expertise all through Sue and her team, as well as Lydia Kennedy, our program manager for our business incubator that's starting up, to really see themselves as that small business owner. So for us, it's about how are we helping people who may not see themselves as the business owners become the business owners through education and training. And once they are a business owner, how are we as a college helping them stay resilient no matter what happens with respect to these business cycles?
That's great. Crispin, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think we have an interesting, perspective on things like this because we employ and we're a third or fourth destination stop for most of the goods that we sell, right? We don't produce anything outright at our store. We're using components that are, packaged and produced and then get to us. So anything that we sell in our store has been touched by 2 or 3 other businesses along the way, and so a disruption in the supply chain at any point along there or a price change in that supply chain, we have zero ability to control for that. We have to be ready to react to that and absorb as much of those costs as we can, right? We can't raise our prices every time our small dairy that provides all of our milk from Wilcox raises their price because they've had a supplier increase price of grain in order to, so there's we sit in this interesting spot where we're sort of waiting to kind of catch the good at the very end, steam the milk, grind the beans, brew the coffee, put in a great cup for you, and serve it out the door, but we're not creating anything outright. And so we're very, very subject to price fluctuation and making sure that we're not always trying to pass that on to customers, which makes the model difficult. We also have employees who are all part-time for us. We employ 10 individuals. We call them book tenders. They can give you a great book recommendation and make you a great coffee. But they all work between 25 and 32 hours. Of the 10, only 2 live in Oro Valley. And so the cost of gas becomes a really big topic when people are driving in from Marana or they're driving from further south than Orange Grove because that's where they can afford to rent a place and get to work. And so we sort of see how these factors not only impact our bottom line, but how they have a real impact on our staff's ability to get to work and then pay the rest of their bills every single month, as prices fluctuate. And our staff is making anywhere between $19 and $22 an hour every single week, which we feel, for a brand new business is a pretty good place to start.
And Crispin, not to mention the added stress on infrastructure and roads that those commuters are bringing into Oro Valley as well. So let's go to a couple of questions from the audience. Of course, we're talking about development, so we got a question about water. What about water resources for all of the people and housing?
Is Mike Chakowski here?
Yeah.
Mike from the city, you want to answer that one? I'm just kidding. So from our perspective at the county, right, when we're talking about businesses and we're talking about individuals coming here, actually our first call, right, is always to the city. So every single email thread, all of those things that we're doing when we're chatting about these businesses coming in, it's directly with the city, it's directly with Tucson Electric Power, it's directly with PCC and the U of A. And that is the primary question that comes up nowadays, is it used to be workforce first, and in many times it still is, but it's power and water and land as well. And we obviously want to be very, very good stewards of natural resources, especially those that are finite. And so when we talk with the city, the first question is, do we have capacity? And is that capacity sustainable? there are many, many different ways to think about what sustainability looks like, especially with some of the types of businesses that are coming in, whether or not they're using gray water, whether or not they're reusing water on site. As an example, data centers got a really, really bad rap for a long time and still probably do, but the technology behind how they operate and how they use water has changed significantly, and so they're not as bad as people might remember, but it still gives you a little bit of pause, a little bit of hesitation. So we work through that, right, with all of our partners to figure it out. My perspective and the information that's given to me from our wastewater department as well as water is that we do have capacity. We also hold tight and we're stringent on those that we are seeking to get here based off of what our requirements are as a service to the community, right? We don't want to overdo it on one side as opposed to the other. So finding the balance is something that we do quite literally every single day when it comes to water, wastewater, other resources that we're using.
Paul,
Take it as an opportunity
Go
for the
ahead.
town to brag, because we've done a fantastic job of conserving and making sure that we have an assured water supply that we can boast out to 400 years. So we always talk about a 100-year assured water supply. We're getting close to build out for the town, but we know that we also look at it from the perspective, as Heath was describing. When you look at economic development, you do balance that water need out. We take a look at the existing big primary employers that we have, look at their water use, and then think, if another employer was coming in, how would we look at that in terms of the capital expenditure, the jobs created, and the water demand, to figure, is this something that we want to take to town council if there's an incentive agreement or helping them to relocate in the town of Oro Valley. So yes, that's foremost on our minds as well.
Great. What is the future of brick and mortar retail facilities?
I guess that's me, huh?
Yeah.
I think this is my perspective as a independently owned business. I think the future is there has to be a mix of the chain operations that fill some of the bigger spaces with the small locally owned businesses. I think anytime you look at an ecosystem, you want to see a variety of things operating and thriving within any ecosystem that you're building. And I think that in order for Oro Valley to continue to grow and thrive and develop, as a town, I do think that there needs to be more interest from small business owners to come and open up shop within the town. I think things like the permitting process being easier and more refined and having improved over the last couple years helps that. I think small business owners kind of seeing the runway for the town and knowing what the current administration has planned and what the economic development folks have planned is important. I think the pandemic did something interesting for brick and mortar. Online shopping's not going away. The River's not going away. We don't say their name. People are going to continue to shop at those places, but I think brick and mortar is an anchor to your community. It's a place where people can find a connection, where they can know the person that's on the other side of the transaction. And I think coming out of the pandemic era, that desire to reconnect was really rekindled throughout our society. And a business like ours that really thrives on face-to-face interaction and community engagement has proven to be something that people are actually looking for. So I think the future of brick and mortar is small. Shop small as much as you can. I know it's convenient to click your way into buying something, but I firmly believe that we drive more economic value in our community than Amazon ever will when you come and shop with us in so many ways.
I think the question could be equally applied to education. I know that wasn't asked, but especially with the pandemic, we could say, what's the future of brick and mortar education? So for example, at Pima Community College, a full 50% of education and training is delivered either fully online or hybrid, a mix of the two. But I go to brick and mortar shops to buy things I know I don't want to take the risk of clicking and having to return, like a suit or a pair of shoes or a cologne that I want to make sure smells okay before I buy it or something like that. Equally, there are certain things with respect to education and training for these high quality jobs that can only be done in person. I don't know about you, but I would not want to fly an airplane that hypothetically the person who was fixing it only got their education online, right? So for example, and by the way, there's FAA laws against that, so that could never happen. But just to be sure, there are certain things, but it's also about the experience that people are going to have on our campus. And are we giving people a reason to continue to come back? And we are. So at Pima Community College, we're not focused only on that initial credential that you need to get that first job, but because of volatile cycles, because of technology, people are going to need new and different jobs, likely their entire whole life. And so we are that destination where people can come back for that experience and that unique connection to people who can deliver quality education and training for what they need at that particular point in their career.
I think that is the common theme when you listen to Crispin and you talk about the retail analyses that we've experienced online this year. There was an emphasis because it's going back. People want that experience, shopping, going out, doing all of those things. Pickleball is the real, everything's going up pickleball, and that's been one of the top expansion retail opportunities for this year coming up. But it's also been Aldi's and some of the several other chain stores that have been a focal point of redevelopment. I think the only retail expansion that wasn't occurring this year, and there's going to be some contraction, was the typical corner CVS, Walgreens stores of that type. So really the retail outlook is very promising because even going to the point where Bed Bath & Beyond, everybody thought that was catastrophic that they were going out of business, but it also opened up a lot of additional retail spaces that were secured at low rents. Now that they can go back in, refurbish, rehabilitate those, and you've got additional opportunities that weren't there. So I think it's really very positive for retail brick and mortar moving forward, but it has to be focused on all of those experience components. People will have to want to go out and do those things.
So here's all of your friendly reminders to shop local. Yes. So we are bumping up against time, but I do have one last question. We're talking about the 50th anniversary of Oro Valley, and somebody wrote this question in. What do you think Oro Valley in southern Arizona will look like in the next 50 years?
I used to get really irritated in economic development circles, and still do when folks say, so if you've said this, I'm sorry, but we really need to be the next Austin. Right, we really need to be the next Austin. Well, no, Austin is Austin, and Austin can stay as weird as it wants to be, right? But the reality is we just need to be the best version of ourselves, right? We have 4,000 years of contiguous human history here in southern Arizona. As long as we continue to respect all of the cultures that have lived and continue to come to this land, as well as with an economic development and a business focus, remain attuned to those business and industries that really fit our local character. Economic development and growth are not antithetical to preservation, to history, and to the great outdoors and ecological preservation. And I think that we are finding our way through all of the different things that we are doing in partnership together to really meet that vision. And so I predict that we're going to be a better version of ourselves. We're going to be just as beautiful outdoors, and we're going to have stronger business and industry for better jobs for our locales.
That's like the most perfect answer.
I was just going to say, Ian, I think that was an answer to leave on. That was wonderful.
That's right.
So thank you, panel. You guys did a fantastic job. Let's all give them a wonderful round of applause.
Okay.
So before I let you all go, we do have a little gift for our panelists. So if I could have some staff come up here and help me out with this, please. They took time out of their days to talk to me before we did this, to research and to be here again on this beautiful day outside. Actually, it might be hitting on the warm side. So we do have a chamber member called Seared Living, and they have this wonderful little shop over by kind of across the street from La Encantada. So we have these beautiful little baskets that Seared Living put together for us. So thank you, panelists. While they are handing out the other baskets, two things that I want to tell you about is our next event coming up is our scholarship breakfast. So hopefully all of you by now know that your chamber has a foundation, and the foundation gives out scholarships. This year we'll be giving out 14 scholarships to deserving students. Not including the 5 that we have already given to students of Pima Community College this year. So our scholarship breakfast will be on June 20th, Dave, help me out here. June 20th. All right. It will be on June 20th at Westward Look. Please come. Your tickets help support these scholarships and they help celebrate those wonderful students. The next event that we have coming up after that is our annual meeting and awards breakfast here at El Conquistador on August 13th. In your expo bags, you all had a QR code that will take you to a nomination form to nominate wonderful businesses, organizations, nonprofits, and business leaders for awards. So please do that, and we'll come back here on August 13th and recognize them. So go, be the best version of yourselves, and have a wonderful day.